The air crackled with a mistake I couldn't undo. A single word that changed everything. I stood frozen, my heart hammering, as the king of the underworld's piercing eyes bore into mine. How does a broke college kid from Brooklyn end up betrothed to a god? It started with a dare. My best friend, Mia, had dragged me to an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, whispering about an urban legend, a hidden altar where you could summon something nobody knew what for a price. Come on, Eli, she teased, her phone flashlight bouncing off graffiti-covered walls. You're the mythology nerd. Don't you want to meet a god? I rolled my eyes. But my curiosity, that reckless spark, pulled me forward. I was 22, drowning in student loans, and maybe a little desperate for something bigger than my dead-end barista job. The altar was real, tucked in a corner under a pile of rusted pipes. It was a slab of black stone, carved with symbols that made my skin prickle. Mia dared me to read the inscription aloud, her laughter echoing in the empty space. I didn't believe in magic, but the words felt heavy, ancient, like they carried a pulse. I traced the carvings with my finger and spoke them, my voice steady at first, then trembling, ego te in aeternum lego. I bind you to me forever. The ground shook. A wind roared through the warehouse, snuffing out Mia's flashlight. And then he appeared. He was no ordinary man. Taller than anyone I'd ever seen, with sharp cheekbones and eyes like twin voids. He radiated power that made my knees buckle. A crown of shadows hovered above his jet-black hair, and his tailored suit, impossibly pristine for this grimy place, shimmered with threads of starlight. Who dares bind me? His voice was low, a velvet blade slicing through the silence. Mia screamed and bolted, leaving me alone with him. I am Eli, I stammered, clutching my backpack like a shield. It was an accident. I didn't mean to. An accident. His lips curled into a smirk, but his eyes burned with something else, curiosity. Maybe. Or hunger. You spoke the vow. You offered your soul. And now, Elias Carter, you are mine. I should have run. I should have laughed it off as a hallucination. But when he stepped closer, the air between us sparked, and my heart didn't just race, it sang. His name, I learned, was Azrael, king of the underworld, ruler of demons and lost souls. And somehow, my clumsy Latin had proposed to him. The next morning, I woke up in my cramped apartment, convinced it was a dream. But my roommate, Jamal, dropped his cereal bowl when he saw me. Dude, why is there a demon outside our door? I rushed to the window. A hulking, horned creature knelt on the sidewalk, its head bowed. When I stepped outside, it spoke in a guttural voice. Hail, consort of the king. I slammed the door, heart pounding. This was real. Too real. Azrael appeared again that night, materializing in my living room like he owned the place. You cannot undo the vow, he said, his tone softer now, almost regretful. But I can protect you from its consequences if you trust me. His gaze held mine, and for a moment, I forgot he was a god. He was just a man, impossibly beautiful, with a flicker of loneliness in his eyes. I didn't trust him. Not yet. But I couldn't ignore the pull between us, like a thread tying my soul to his. What do I do now? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Survive, he said simply. My court is not kind to mortals. Over the next week, My life unraveled. Demons followed me everywhere, bowing and whispering consort in voices that sent chills down my spine. My boss fired me after a shadow beast trashed the coffee shop, muttering about royal duties. Mia wouldn't return my calls, probably traumatized. And every night, Azrael appeared, teaching me the rules of his world. Never eat their food. Never look a demon in the eyes. Never show fear. His lessons were patient, his touch fleeting but electric brush of fingers against my wrist, a steadying hand on my shoulder. Each moment made my chest ache with something I didn't dare name. But the underworld wasn't just demons and vows. There was a rebellion brewing. Azrael told me one night, his voice tight with worry. His brother, Malachar, wanted the throne in my accidental vow had made me a target. They think you're my weakness, Azrael said, standing too close, his breath warm against my cheek. They're wrong. You're my strength. I wanted to believe him. But I was immortal, breakable, and out of place in his world of shadows. Yet every time he looked at me, I felt like I could be more. Like I could be his equal. Then the attack came. I was walking home from the library when a demon's even feet tall, with claws like scythes slung from an alley. The king's pet. It hissed, pinning me against a wall. My scream died in my throat as its claws grazed my neck. But before it could strike, Azrael appeared, his shadows coiling like a storm. He dispatched the demon with a flick of his hand, its body dissolving into ash. He caught me as I stumbled, his arm steady but trembling. "You're hurt," he said, his voice raw. He touched the scratch on my neck, and his fingers lingered, warm and careful. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for me. "I'm fine," I lied, my heart racing not from the attack, but from him. "Why do you care so much?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled me closer, his lips brushing my forehead. "Because you're mine," he whispered. "And I'm yours." In that moment, I didn't care about demons or thrones or vows. I only cared about the way his touch made me feel like I was home. The underworld wasn't what I expected. No fire and brimstone. No tortured screams, just endless corridors of black marble and a cold that sank into your bones. Azrael brought me there the next night, his hand gripping mine as we stepped through a portal in my apartment. "Stay close," he warned, his voice low. "My court is watching." The throne room was vast, its ceiling lost in shadows. Demons of every shape, some humanoid, others monstrous, lined the walls, their eyes glowing like embers. They bowed as I entered, but their whispers were sharp, laced with suspicion. "Immortal," one hissed. "Unworthy." Azrael's grip tightened, his shadows flaring like a warning. I straightened, refusing to flinch. I might have been a nobody from Brooklyn, but I wasn't going to let them see me shake. Azrael led me to a throne of obsidian, its surface carved with the same runes I'd read on that cursed altar. "This is your place," he said, gesturing to a smaller seat beside his. "As my consort." The word sent a shiver through me, half thrill, half terror. I wasn't ready to be anyone's consort, let alone a god's. But when he looked at me, his eyes softening, I felt that pull again, like gravity bending the world around us. The court was a maze of politics and power plays. Malachar, Azrael's brother, was the worst of them. He was a mirror of Azrael's same sharp features, Same commanding presence, but where Azrael's eyes held warmth, Malakar's were cold, calculating. He sauntered into the throne room one night, a smirk playing on his lips. "So this is the mortal who's bewitched my brother," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "Tell me, Elias, what makes you think you can survive us?" I opened my mouth to snap back, but Azrael stood, his shadows coiling like a storm. "Speak to him again," he said, his voice deadly calm, "and you'll answer to me." Malakar laughed, but he backed off, his eyes promising trouble. That night, Azrael took me to a private chamber, its walls glowing with soft blue runes. "You don't have to face them alone," he said, his voice softer now. He reached for my hand, and I let him take it, my fingers trembling in his. "I never wanted this for you, Eli. But I can't let you go." "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I'm just a guy. You're a king. What am I to you?" He stepped closer, his hand cupping my face. "You're the only one who's ever seen Minit the king. Not the god. Just me." His thumb brushed my cheek, and my breath caught. I wanted to kiss him, to close the distance between us, but fear held me back. What did it mean to love someone who ruled the dead? The rebellion grew bolder. Demons loyal to Malakar ambushed us during a patrol through the Underworld's outer rings, their claws and shadows tearing through the air. Azrael fought like a force of nature, his power breathtaking, but there were too many. I grabbed a fallen dagger, its blade glowing with runes, and swung wildly, surprising even myself when I struck one down. Azrael's eyes met mine in the chaos, a flash of pride breaking through his focus. When it was over, we were both breathless, blood and ash staining our clothes. He pulled me into a hidden alcove, checking me for wounds. "You're reckless," he said, but his voice was warm, almost teasing. "And brave. You're one to talk." I shot back, grinning despite the adrenaline. His laughter was soft, rare, and it made my heart ache. I reached for him then, my hand resting on his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath. He froze, then covered my hand with his eyes searching mine. "Eli," he whispered, leaning closer. Our lips met, tentative at first, then desperate, like we'd been starving for this. His kiss was fire and shadow, consuming and gentle all at once. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine, his breath uneven. "You make me want to be more than what I am." But the moment didn't last. Malakar's spies were everywhere, and word of our kiss spread like wildfire. The court turned hostile, demons whispering that I was a liability, a mortal tainting their king. Azrael ignored them, but I saw the strain in his eyes, the weight of his crown heavier than ever. One night, he took me to a hidden garden in the underworld, where flowers glowed like stars. "This was my mother's," he said, his voice thick with memory. "She was mortal, like you. She taught me to love, even in this place." He turned to me, his eyes raw. "I thought I'd forgotten how until you." I wanted to tell him I felt the same, that he was more than a king to me. But before I could, the ground trembled, and a portal tore open. Malakar stepped through, flanked by demons, his smile cruel. "Time's up, brother," he said. "The mortal dies tonight." Malakar's demons lunged, their claws gleaming in the garden's eerie light. Azrael shoved me behind him, his shadows erupting into a barrier that deflected the first attack. "Run, Eli," he shouted, but I couldn't leave him. I gripped the rune dagger I'd kept since the last fight, my hands shaking but steady enough. I wasn't a hero, but I wasn't a coward either. The battle was chaos. Azrael fought with a grace that stole my breath, his shadows slicing through demons like a blade through silk. But Malachar was relentless, his own power a twisted mirror of Azrael's. He aimed for me, his eyes gleaming with hate. "You're nothing," he snarled, hurling a bolt of shadow that grazed my arm, burning like ice. I cried out, but Azrael was there, catching me before I fell. "Touch him again," Azrael growled, his voice shaking the ground, "and I'll end you." Malachar laughed, but I saw fear flicker in his eyes. He wasn't invincible. The fight spilled into the throne room, demons choosing sides, some loyal to Azrael, others to Malachar. I stayed close, dodging claws and striking when I could. My mortal strength no match for theirs, but enough to distract. Azrael's eyes kept finding me, fierce and protective, and I realized something. He wasn't just fighting for his throne. He was fighting for me. Malachar's final move was desperate. He opened a portal to the mortal world, dragging us through to a deserted Brooklyn pier. The night was cold, the city's lights distant and uncaring. "Let's see how your king fares without his shadows," Malachar taunted, his demons circling us. But Azrael didn't need his full power. He fought with raw determination, every move precise, every strike for me. I saw my chance when Malachar's attention faltered. I lunged, driving the dagger into his shoulder. He roared, his shadows faltering, and Azrael seized the moment, binding Malachar in chains of light. The demons froze, their loyalty wavering. Malachar's rebellion collapsed as his followers knelt, defeated. We stood there, panting, the pier silent except for the lapping waves. Azrael turned to me, his face bloodied but beautiful. "You could have died," he said, his voice breaking. "So could you," I replied, stepping closer. "I'm not letting you do this alone." He kissed me then, fierce and unyielding, the world fading around us. When we pulled apart, his eyes were bright with something new hope. "You're more than my consort," he said. "You're my equal." The underworld changed after that. Malachar was imprisoned, his followers scattered. The demons still bowed when I entered, but their whispers were quieter now, tinged with respect. Azrael began teaching me to wield the runes, his hand guiding mine as we carved symbols that hummed with power. "You're part of this world now," he said one night, his voice soft as we sat in the glowing garden. "But you're still you. That's why I love you." I froze, my heart pounding. "You love me." He smiled, a rare, unguarded smile. "From the moment you stumbled into my life with that ridiculous vow." I laughed, tears stinging my eyes, and kissed him, the underworld fading around us. Months later, I stood beside him in the throne room, no longer just a mortal, but a partner, a protector. The demons bowed, not out of fear, but loyalty. I'd found my place not just in Azrael's world, but in his heart. And as we faced the court together, his hand in mine, I knew I'd choose him again, accident or not. The vow I'd spoken in that warehouse hadn't just bound me to a king. It had bound me to a future I never could have imagined, one where love was stronger than fear, where a kid from Brooklyn could stand beside a god and call him home.